Hey everyone, welcome to Divine Numbers and Theories, a place where thinking outside the box is the new common sense. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to be uploading about 30 interviews that you don't want to miss. But I want to introduce you to some friends of mine that are very near and dear to me. They were part of January 6th and they were imprisoned, and we're going to interview them on their stories. And I'm really, really honored to have you, Micki and Jessica. So we have Miss Micki Larson Olson, Micki Q, and we have Miss Jessica Watkins. Thank you for being here. Okay, so Micki, a little bit about Micki. Micki Q is, she has 21 years in the Air Force. She's a mom, and she participated in the Iran war. She's an Iran war veteran. Thank you for your service. I mean,
Iraq, darling.
Oh,
Iraq, sweetheart.
What was that?
You said Iran, but it's Iraq.
Iraq. What did I say? Iraq. Sorry, that was a big.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous right now because I'm sweating. Okay. Sorry about that, lady. I know it's you. I know.
We got this.
Iraq. Come on, people. The viewers will get me. Okay. On to Miss Jessica Watkins. She's a January 6th Oath Keeper. She's an Afghanistan veteran, and she's a firefighter and EMT. So thank you so much, ladies, because you're both super, super kind, but badass at the same time. And I love women like that. So thank you so much. All right. Okay. So I want to start with, let's get into January 6th. You know, there's a lot of rumors and so forth, obviously, out there. But I remember when it was happening, and there were a lot of friends of mine that were streaming live, and you were there for a peaceful protest. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what was the
absolutely
awesome? And what was the vibe like? Because I heard it was just like woohoo and great until
I'll tell you, I told the jury when I was testifying.
What was that?
It was the most patriotic day of my life.
I love it. I love it. But I mean, the vibe was good. How many people do you think were actually there?
You know, I was there pretty early in the morning, and up pretty close. And yeah, it was the most amazing day. And none of us, I had been to rallies before and events and everything. And one of the things I found really odd was whenever you go to a rally or an event, you're always going through security. Like, I can't even take my little light up flag. Like, I can't even take this flag into the rallies, right? My little light up flag. I can't even take it in, right? But yet I had my two big, huge flag poles with my Troops for Trump flag. And then on the back, it has Trump train. It says all aboard the Trump train. And then I have my Q flag, right? My where we go when we all flag.
Yeah.
Big, huge flagpoles, right?
Yeah.
There was no security. I didn't go through any security to get in there. So that in itself was kind of fishy. Especially now, like I hadn't been, I was following President Trump all over until I totaled my car. And so I've been to so many events, and that was really weird to not.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. How many people? Micki, let me ask you, Jessica, how many people do you think were there? Because I saw videos that were being taken down. There was a lot.
Yeah.
How many do you think were there? Like 500,000? I mean, I don't know. But
I don't know.
I would say a lot. I would say a lot more than that. I actually did go through the metal detector section. I had a broken arm at the time, and I had like a thing, and they made me take it off, and they like checked it out for weapons and things. But that was like a lot closer to where the president gave his speech. I mean, we were like right there, like the media was behind us. That's how close we were.
Oh, wow.
But no, at some point during the rally, I stood on my chair and I looked back, and it was just like a sea of humans. You couldn't see the horizon, like from horizon to horizon. It was just all people. It was probably
I remember that. I remember that, seeing that. I'm like, oh my gosh. And wasn't there some news broadcast that were trying to make it seem like there weren't that many people?
Yeah, that's
It
because
seems
they showed like one little spot, like, but it was millions of, I mean, there was well over 1 million people.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. I wish I could have been there in spirit. Oh boy. Well, listen, let's move on. So let me ask you, when did all hell break loose? Like what when did it just go sideways for you, Micki? If you could explain in like 5 minutes or less, when did it go sideways and what happened to you? Real quick.
For me, you know, I go out in this costume all over the country. So President Trump did his speech, and a lot of people were, you know, taking pictures of me, filming, doing interviews and all that, right? And then I joined in with everybody to walk down to the Capitol. There was no violent intent. I don't know of a single person that went there with the violent intent. It was just like any other event I had ever been to, you know, with my fellow patriots. And so what had happened for me when it went south, I was sitting down, you know, just doing what I do, you know, and somebody came up to me and said they killed Ashley Babbitt and that she was a war veteran, Air Force, also female war veteran. And for me, I was in my costume. So I felt a responsibility to represent as a veteran that took an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And it is my true and honest belief that those politicians inside of that Capitol are domestic enemies masquerading as our representatives. And so when that had happened is when I decided to walk up the stairs. There was no sign whatsoever telling me I couldn't do so, okay? But the thing of the matter for me was I went up there and we got gassed, right? Like
literally
they gassed us.
To stop you from going.
You know, correct? I was already up there. I was already up there with my flags and I was saying the Lord's Prayer and I was saying, hold the line, hold the line, hold the line, as loud as I could. And so I was up there and we got gassed. And so as a veteran, I knew get down, you know, get down on the ground. So I was down on the ground and I just prayed. And I said, God, if you want me to stay here, you're going to have to give me the strength to do it because it really took it out of me. And I'm a war veteran, so I'd had that happen to me before, but it just took it out because it was unexpected. I didn't expect this to me in my own country, the country I almost died for twice, almost got blown up twice in Iraq, in a war I didn't even have to go to because the guy that was supposed to go flaked out, was a coward. So they asked me if I'd go in his place, which I said, fine, I did, okay? So I almost got blown up twice in Iraq. And I know about so much truth, as you know, for a few years before that. So it was not just about the election for me. It was about all the truth I knew in my head and what I almost died for. And so what happened was the Capitol Police tapped me on the shoulder. After God, you know, I just felt strongly that God just gave me the strength to just stand. And I did. I just prayed. I said, please just, you know, if I'm meant to be here, you're going to have to give me the strength. And I stood up and that's when I put my flags out, my Q flag and my Troops for Trump flag. And Brian from Right Side Broadcasting is on video saying, get that Captain America lady. And, so, and then the Capitol Police tapped me on the shoulder and told me it was time to go. And I said, no. And with me too, you know, as I drive around, I got stickers of truth all over my car. And one of those stickers says, all Rosa Parks said was no. When they told her to get to the back of the bus, she said, no. And I had that sticker on my car. And I was like, no. And I said, you have a gun, because I'm in it. I had made up my mind that was the hill I was willing to die on that day. So I told him, you have a gun because you're going to have to shoot me dead because I'm not walking. And so I wrapped my red thigh-high boots around the scaffolding, and it forced 6 Capitol Police to carry me down the stairs. I broke free from them a few times. The lady was like, do you want me to pepper spray you? I laughed in her face and I said, you know, I'm an Iraq war veteran. I said, there's nothing you can do to me I haven't been through. But the thing of the matter is, with the trial, they said that I was escorted off the property, which was a lie. I never was. They left me down at the bottom of the stairs. I walked around for like 2 hours after that. I was dragged through the mud by the police because I needed my Trump backpack, which President Trump signed.
Oh.
I needed my backpack. It had my car keys and my ID and all that, and I needed that. And they said drag me through the mud a few times. I walked off on my own. I was never escorted off. And but when it went sideways, I would say it went sideways when I was looking at someone that had been gassed, and I looked at another guy that he had been shot in the face with a rubber bullet, and he's still
Joshua Black.
A rubber bullet. He was shot in the face with a rubber bullet.
In the face. Oh my gosh.
And I had saw
Yeah,
him,
it's
but
Joshua Black.
Huh? Who was that, Jessica?
His name is Joshua. His name is Joshua Black.
Yes, so he got shot in the face. So and so I'd say for me it went sideways when they started unleashing the gas and the grenades and stuff and all that. That's when it went sideways. I'd say before that everything was fine. There was no problems. Nobody was causing any problems. And they did that. And then of course I heard about Ashley, and I was just like, I'm not leaving my sister on the battlefield. I didn't go there to be on a battlefield. I did not. But that's where I found myself. So did Jessica. They made that battlefield. We didn't plan for that. If we did, we would have had a lot more than flagpoles. I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so
within my 5-minute timeline. I guess I should be paying attention to that.
You're totally fine. I couldn't read it. I was so nervous. I'm like, Iraq, you know, I mean, I ran. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was embarrassing. So I hope everyone can totally forgive me. So don't worry. You're totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, for the record.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So Jessica, first off, I saw your interview with Steve Bannon from CPAC. You did wonderful. I was just so proud of you. Thank you for speaking your truth. Thank you for that. So what about you? So, you know, in 5 minutes or less, when did it go sideways for you? What happened? What were you experiencing?
So for us, the Oath Keepers were there on a contract. We were there to escort. We had VIPs and congressmen, podcasters, famous personalities like Roger Stone. And so we were on a contract to escort them from the president's speech at the White House Ellipse and get them to the Capitol building where we had a stage and sound equipment, and everything. We were just like the security detail. I was a medic for that security detail. Our job was to escort the congressman. That ended up falling apart. So we took our podcasters and we escorted them to the Capitol building. And everything was very peaceful. It was extremely patriotic. It was extremely fun. I mean, it was the best day of my life. And we got there and we dropped off our podcasters and we said, okay, well, you know, God bless, have a good one. They prayed for us. And then we just kind of like, all right, let's go check it out. We wandered right up to the front stairs. There was just a massive crowd of people there on the stairs. They were just waving flags. And we walked up the stairs. We sang our national anthem. We filmed a little bit. And then we went up to the top of the stairs to check it out. And that's when we seen people walking inside. We're like, okay, cool, let's go check it out. There was no police officers telling anybody to leave. There was no police officers anywhere around. The only police officers we had seen were out on the grass. There's like a little line of riot police, but they were like bored. They were just standing there. and nobody was paying them any attention. They're just kind of decoration almost. And so when we walked inside, everything was super beautiful. People are taking selfies in the rotunda, and it was just a really amazing experience. They were singing "Glory, Glory, Hallelujah," and so the first instance I saw that it went bad was I walked into a hallway. It was just right off the rotunda. There was like a little hallway there, and I heard glass break, and I looked and I seen somebody, and I screamed at him. I'm like, "Hey, this is the taxpayer's house. This is our house. You know, if you're gonna F it up, I'm gonna F you up." And they apologized and they ran, and I was like, "Okay, cool." You know, I just stopped somebody who was breaking stuff and felt pretty good about it. And then I went back into the rotunda. Yeah, and so I was like, I went back in the rotunda, and we were talking with protesters and stuff, and somebody had mentioned something about like the cops shooting pepper balls and like throwing flashbangs or whatever. We didn't see any of that, and so we're like, whatever. And then at one point, I heard like 3 loud bangs, and that was about the same time that Ashley Babbitt was shot. I don't think they're connected, but it was the same time. That was what was it? 2:43, I believe it was. Um, and so we were like, okay, but then when those 3 bangs happened, the crowd just kind of cheered and went back to we're like, okay, well, whatever. And so I wandered down a hallway, and that hallway was more, it wasn't as patriotic and happy. People were chanting F McConnell, and they're, uh, chanting a lot. It was more, whose house, our house. Like it was more, I don't want to say aggressive, but it was more passionate. It wasn't as like fun loving as it was out on the steps. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, like, but everybody was peaceful. Everybody was just standing there minding their own business. And out of the blue, the cops just started beating people. And there's like maybe 15 cops, and they're trying to shove like 500 people out of this door. And nobody was going to fit through that door. Like, I don't know what the cops were thinking. That was like a losing battle. But everybody behind us started shoving everyone forward. And I kind of got sandwiched in the middle. And like I'm on camera, I was screaming, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And like I was panicking. Like I said, I had a broken arm at the time, and I had broken ribs. I had a foundation wall collapse on me. And so I was in a lot of pain.
Jessica.
Yeah. So and it was just abrupt. It was out of the blue, like, and then the police pepper sprayed everyone, and everybody kind of just ran. And as soon as I got out of there, I ran. I met the cops kind of directed us, and we went back into the rotunda. And at that point, I'm very disoriented, and I'm looking for anybody I recognize. One of the people who came in with us, he was with the oath keeper. He wasn't an oath keeper, but he was with us kind of. He was just like a kid that was tagging along. He had gotten pepper sprayed real bad, so we were kind of waiting for him to like recover. And then when he started to go downhill, his breathing, he had asthma, so his breathing got really bad, and he started wheezing. And so like I was like, we got to get this kid out of here. And so like I threw him on my shoulders, and I dragged him over to a police officer, and I said, "Hey sir, how do we get out of here? This kid's having a problem. I need to get him out of here." Cop's like, "Oh yeah, no problem. Just go that way." And so like we went out, and I dragged him out of the Capitol building. I was there as a medic, like I said, so I had credentials all over me that just said medic, like Red Crosses and everything. So we created a little space so I could help him out. And people seen me, and they just started bringing me people. And so like all the oath keepers were there trying to like help them with their medical emergencies. As soon as the kid recovered a little bit, I got another patient brought to me, and he had severe COPD. And so he was like passing out. He was like unconscious. He's like in and out, he's kind of fading in and out. So I threw him on my shoulders, and I dragged him down the stairs to the ambulances. And then about the time that we came back, the curfew order came out, and we left, and that was it. But and for all of that, they ended up charging us with seditious conspiracy and obstruction of official proceeding, and
does that even make sense? That doesn't make sense to.
It doesn't. My co-defendants. So like I said, I stopped vandalism, and I helped 2 hurt people. My co-defendants rescued Officer Harry Dunn.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like these people, we're all just honorable people that just showed up to do a job, and we ended up finding problems, and then ended up doing our best to help. But the Nancy Pelosi Select Committee and all of that. They had their narrative. They knew what they wanted to push. They were trying to connect President Trump to far-right extremism. And so they labeled us as domestic terrorists and insurrectionists. And they said, okay, you're far-right extremists and you're militia groups and all this stuff. And because we were working for the rally to escort congressmen and stuff, they were able to use that to connect us to the president. So I'm actually the president's co-defendant on a civil case. And that's how they've connected all the dots. They said, okay, well, President Trump hired the rally rallied them, and then they went in the Capitol. It ignores all the facts that we didn't even do anything. We were just kind of there, and we were just helping out.
I am so sorry. I mean, here you're, like you said, you're here to help the people, you know, both of you, and they're using you as an example.
Correct.
Nancy Pelosi wanted to make sure President Trump could never hold public office again.
100%. And during our sentencing, Nancy Pelosi, so the select committee called me out personally by name and said Jessica Watkins committed a seditious conspiracy. They did that 3 times during the select committee. Jamie Raskin, Liz Cheney, and Benny Thompson all called me out personally. And then Nancy Pelosi sent 4 people to testify against us in my sentencing. So Harry Dunn, Officer Harry Dunn, the officer that the Oath Keepers rescued, testified, said, Your Honor, throw them in prison for the rest of their natural life. I didn't need their help. F them. So he takes selfies and things with Nancy Pelosi. They know each other personally. Her chief law enforcement agency, her bodyguard, essentially, Special Agent Lazarus. Special Agent Lazarus also testified against us, said he saw the Oath Keepers attacking Harry Dunn, whatever. He wasn't even in the same building. If you ever get a chance, go watch Steve Baker with the Blaze and Glenn Beck. He does a whole piece on how Agent Lazarus and Harry Dunn committed perjury in our trial, with evidence, with video evidence. Those 2 are directly connected to Nancy Pelosi, testified at our sentencing, said throw them in prison for the rest of their lives. Then so did her chief of staff, showed up and testified against us, and one of her congressional aides testified against us. So it was like Nancy Pelosi was trying to throw us personally in prison, and we didn't even do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh my gosh. You know, and what's scary is that could have been any one of us watching you. You know what I mean? For a future, that could have been any of us. And look how quickly their power just, that's scary. That scares me. That would not make me feel safe whatsoever either. And I am so, so sorry. So sorry. Oh, man. So you had mentioned your charges. Micki, is there anything that you want to add to what ended up happening to you thereafter? And pick up where we left off?
Well, I just, what happened was after they had drugged me through the mud a few times because I wouldn't walk because I need my backpack, they finally gave up, and they basically handed me to a high-ranking officer. He had rank, but I don't know exactly who he was. And I said, I need my backpack. And luckily, this guy that I was hanging out with before I went up on the scaffolding told me, he said, if we get separated, I'm going to put your backpack up underneath this truck. And so thank God it was there. And so he went through my backpack and everything like that. And then I gave him my poem I wrote after 9/11. And I said, you need to know who your people just dragged through the mud like that. And he let me go after he inspected my bag, which, by the way, let me see if I can grab it.
Yeah.
Oh, good. The FBI didn't take it.
Yeah. So this backpack has been with me all over the country.
Oh.
And yeah, forgive me. So can you see it? Yeah.
I can now. Yep.
Trump signed it for me right here. Right, he signed it for me.
Thanks, Mr.
See
T.
if it's it.
Oh,
There?
yeah. That's
Right there.
awesome.
Trump signed it for me. So anyway, I carry it to all the rallies, and so you know when people often say, they say, well, if your house was on fire and you could only take one materialistic thing, what would it be? And for me, it would be my backpack.
Oh,
It's not just signed by President Trump, it's signed by Bob Joyce and
oh, did he like your
Gene.
cookies? Did he like your cookies?
Yes.
Oh,
And
I love it.
and my good friend Glenn Baker. So sorry for that. What it was I was trying to because it's really important that I want to make sure we get those names out there. And so I was trying to get into my Twitter, and it's not liking my password because I know the names are right there on the wearej6.com on Twitter. We have wearej6, and really just trying to let everybody know who we really are and not the stigma of what the media and so many others made it out like we are. So that's what we're right now and doing.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for sharing your truth, because honestly, I remember when it was happening, and what was interesting is there were guys like from some newscast jumping out, and I don't know if you've heard about these videos or seen them, because clearly they took them down, but these newscasting team were jumping out of some van or something and pretending that there was a riot, and it was still peaceful. Like, I remember the guy videotaping, just an everyday schmo, and he's like, what are you talking about? Everyone's doing great here. This is a peaceful event and so forth. But to me, watching as an outsider, I'm like, what is going on? Are they trying to like make it seem like it was bad before it was even bad? Do you know what I mean? There were so many questions that a lot of us were having, because everything was starting to be taken down. Does that make sense?
That's actually one thing that's really interesting.
9:30 in the morning. Yeah, Jessica, did you know that? They had it in the papers at 9:30 in the morning that the Capitol was being attacked. We were all down at East Park.
And that's my point. That's my point. So it wasn't adding up for people on the other end that weren't there.
And the media was pre-positioned. All the media was pre-positioned, wearing gas masks before anything was happening. They were wearing Kevlar and body armor with press across the chest. Like, they knew something was going to happen before anybody in the crowd did.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi's daughter was in there filming. Nancy Pelosi's daughter was filming. Jeez. So, yeah, it's the thing is, for me, and I'm sure Jessica and all of us, we just want the truth to get out. We want the 44,000 hours of videotape to be put out there. We want, Roseanne Boyland and what happened to her, and Lila Morris. We want to make Lila Morris famous, and not in a good way. The truth needs to get out about all of that. And that's all we want. We just want the truth to be released to the world. And if it's all said and done and everybody says, Micki, you shouldn't have called the Capitol Police a traitor and an asshole so many times, then I'll be okay with that. But for me, again, it was a 3 years of truth and commitment to that truth before I even walked up those stairs. When I walked there, it was with all the knowledge I had, not just the election. So, and including 9/11, and that being our own government, and the Bushes, who I thought were like heroes. And so
can I say something about that? About the Bush family? Okay, so before pre-awakened Sharon, it was probably 13 years ago. So I lived in New Hampshire, and I hadn't been to Maine that much, and had no idea what was going on. And the Bush complex was right on the ocean side, and people could pull over, and I'll never forget that day. So I thought, oh, this is exciting. This is one of the president's homes or what have you. And I remember standing, got out of the car, and Glenn was with me. And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I got to get out of here. It did not feel good to me. It did not feel good to me. And now I know why. I mean, you can't make that stuff up. I couldn't explain it. I'm like, why does it just feel so yucky around here? It was just, I just couldn't explain it. So, and I'm so grateful for you sharing truth, both of you, because honestly, it breaks my heart when I see so many people not even being open-minded, being open to being open when things don't make sense. You know what I mean? We're just told what to do and what to say, and it's just annoying. I mean, I like to think for myself and make my own choices, you know what I mean? And so should the rest of us. But
as you
when
know,
they're
Sharon,
constantly jamming it down your throat,
yeah,
if they're constantly just shoving it down your throat, it makes you feel like, oh, that must be the truth. But it's that discernment within each of us. That's
now
crazy.
on fire for sure, and they can't ever change that. They can't ever lull me to sleep again. You know, Roseanne Barr, as you know, Sharon, I've told you this before. She's the one that woke me up. Roseanne Barr on November 17, 2017, sent out a tweet that asked, "Who is Q?" And I got to went to her comedy show, and I was supposed to ask her question about myself, but I took the opportunity to just tell her thank you that she, you know, woke me up. And she asked me how I told her she changed my life. And she said, how'd I do that? And I said, you sent out a tweet that said, who is Q? And then I asked her, have you figured out who Q is yet? And she said, that wasn't a question about you. That was a question about me. And anyway, as the show went on, she said, I believe Q is all of us. It's all of our responsibility to know the truth and share the truth. And but anyway, that was a lot of fun. And but the thing for me is exactly, and we know, and so now we can't pretend we don't know. But for me also, I'd say probably there's 2 really hard days for me on this. There's been a lot of hard days, but when I heard this beautiful young lady read the 9/11 indictment on YouTube, it was filed in Henderson Court, Nevada, and everybody says, why Henderson, Nevada? Because it was about the gold, and Bismarck Gold's out in Henderson, Nevada. And when George H.W. Bush left the White House, he went to Bismarck Gold because they stole the gold out of Japanese Empire's gold, and they hid it out in the Philippines. And they were dropping that gold in the stock market. So they stole the gold underneath the World Trade Center, September 11th. Okay, so she's reading this 9/11 indictment. And as you both know, I'm a very loud person. I just am. And I screamed like I'd never screamed before. I cried. I don't know that I've ever cried that hard before. Just realizing everything, and, you know, all the troops that had died, all the Iraqis that had died, all of it, and that it was our own government and our so-called allies. I say that, I mean that, so-called allies. And then the other one was listening to John Podesta and that little child, and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, the John Podesta and the little child. Anyway, but
that's hard to hear.
Say, that it made them one of the things they read in the court was my Facebook post that night. They read it, and I said, I've never felt braver or stronger in my entire life than I did today. Yeah, they didn't like that. What do you mean by that? Well, I don't know. I walked all over the place in these freaking high-heeled boots. I felt pretty strong after that.
These boots are made for walking. Yeah, that's just what they'll do.
I think I told you that story too. Like, God showed me the day before that I could do it because I couldn't find my car. I was out in DC. I was in my costume, and I couldn't find my car. And I'm walking all over trying to find my car. And that's when I realized I can walk. And I did. I walked like 2 miles to, the Ellipse Park.
You're
But
so cute.
yeah,
Well,
so
listen, how about this? I would like to jump to your experiences in jail. Can we jump to that topic, ladies? Awesome, awesome. So, Jessica, again, can you remind the audience of what your charges were again and how long you were in for?
I was initially charged with seditious conspiracy, obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, destruction of government property, and civil disorder charge. I was found not guilty on the seditious conspiracy charge because there was just overwhelming evidence that I didn't come there to do that, and I didn't do that. We were charged with destruction of government property for the damage to the Columbus doors, which were damaged at 2:19. We didn't arrive until 2:41. So we were charged.
Interesting.
Right. We weren't even on the same street. We were on Pennsylvania Avenue. Yeah. So we were found not guilty.
And okay.
Yeah, we were found not guilty of those two.
Okay, but the other charges were still a go, and that's what ended up.
Right. So yeah, we ended up being sentenced on 4 charges, which is obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, which is basically all the same thing, and then civil disorder. But now Supreme Court has thrown out the 1512 charge. So 1512 is the obstruction of an official proceeding and the conspiracy. So those 3 out of those 4 charges, the only one I'm currently facing is the civil disorder charge. So which is basically nothing.
So my question, how long did you spend in jail though, technically?
Well, I was in jail I was in the DC Gulag with Micki for 2.5 years. I was there. And then I went to the Bureau of Prisons after my sentencing, and I did another 1.5 years there. I did a total of 4 years and 3 days.
I mean, to me, listening to your stories, that does not even make sense. That could be any of us, and it got twisted, and we could be in the same boat as you. And that, I mean, for you to be able to prove where you were and so forth, I mean, I just hope people awaken after they hear your stories on how suspicious it all is. I mean, it makes no sense when I'm listening to it. I mean, didn't seem violent at all, Can I ask you, Jessica, what was your experience in jail, and how were you treated?
We were treated very badly at first. It got better when I went to the Bureau of Prisons, but the DC Gulag got that nickname for a reason. So Deputy Warden Landerkin is a very outspoken Trump hater. She was talking badly about the January 6th defendants, which were in her custody. It was us. And so
how many of you were in there total from January 6th?
Let's see, the DC pod, we figured it out. We were somewhere around 42 of us. And then on the women's side, there was another, me, Micki, and Pauline. There's 3 of us. So all in all, about 45.
45 is a good number, though. Oh my
45
God.
is a good number, but 47 is better.
Oh, I know. Okay, so that's a lot of people.
And I mean, they rotate in and out too. So like the boys, they'd have people who'd come and go, they'd ship them out to Northern Neck or to Lewisburg. There was different jails. They were rotating everybody out. But the DC Gulag itself, probably on average, never had more than 50 J6ers.
Okay. Wow. What were your experiences though, being when you were talking about there was a time you weren't being treated so well?
Right.
If you're not
Yeah.
comfortable, if you're not comfortable sharing anything, I respect
No, it's
that. but-
fine. It's fine. Deputy Warden Landergan, like I said, she was very outspoken. She was on her Twitter talking about like these damn insurrectionists and all this stuff. Now, mind you, we're in her custody. So, all of her
That seems
staff felt
unethical.
like they were protected. Yeah, her staff they did whatever they wanted to us. Ryan Samsel was beaten and went blind in one eye. They zip tied his hands behind his back and they zip tied his ankles together and kind of hog tied him. And then they just beat him. 3 officers piled into his cell and just beat him. He ended up going blind in one eye.
Oh my gosh. What do you know what the reason was? Was it,
They hate us.
it's just
That's
that
it.
simple?
They would call it, like, I don't know what kind of language I can use on here, but they would call us very racist words like honky and things, or these Trump mother effers. They were very hostile towards us. They would pepper spray January 6th because it was during the COVID times. If you weren't wearing your mask all the way up, they'd pepper spray you and pull your mask up and they'd pepper spray you in the face.
Oh
Jake
my
Lang was
gosh.
beaten. I'm not a big fan of Jake Lang, but he was beaten for singing the national anthem. They literally grabbed him by his throat and body slammed him against the wall and just beat him. And we were in solitary confinement for better part of a year.
For what?
Well, it was during the COVID
Being-
times was the excuse they used. They were like, well, it's COVID. But then we'd find out that other units in the jail were completely they were like, they had regular rec times. And I mean,
So
but
you
the jail,
basically felt like you were being targeted to be treated this way,
right,
to make you an
precisely,
example. And I
precisely.
am
And
so
after the Oath Keepers were sentenced, the day that Stuart Rhodes, the leader of the Oath Keepers, and Kelly Meggs were sentenced, Stuart got 18 years, never stepped foot in the Capitol building. Nobody even knew he was there. Kelly Meggs got 12 years. They gave him seditious conspiracy, and he rescued an officer on camera. And then they withheld a bunch of evidence. I got 8.5 years when we got, and then Kenny Harrelson got 4.5 years. The day they sentenced us, the jail snatched us out personally and threw us in solitary confinement. Not COVID times. They're just like, no, you're going to Supermax. And so like when they figure out your points, it literally says, okay, so like my charges put me at a level 5 out of a potential of 12. So I was a level 5. But because I was a woman over 40, that was -2 points. And because I had no disciplinary issues whatsoever, I'd never been in trouble the whole time I was locked up, that's another -2 points. That put me to a level 1. But then the warden said +11, signed it, and said, no, she goes to Supermax, and sent me into the maximum security wing. And there you're in total lockdown almost all the time. And the guards were very, very hostile to us. It was
I am so sorry.
It was bad. We had good officers. I'm not going to say all the officers were bad. We had some really good, sweet ones that were very. They when you live with somebody for 2.5 years and they see you day in, day out, they'd be like, "There's nothing wrong with these people. They're not a threat to us. They're not a threat to anything." But some of them just hated us. We had Corporal Allen would come in. Corporal Allen would be like, "It's your fault. Them cops killed themselves. F you. You're a bunch of cop killers." Or they just shake down your cell and they tear up pictures of your pets and your family and flush them in front of you. You're like, what are you doing? Why? And they're like, too much mail. You have too much mail, and they just destroy your pictures in front of your face. And or like Corporal or Lieutenant Lancaster, she dumped all my food. You get bins of, you can buy commissary food. It's just items you can buy. She dumped it all on the floor and started stepping on it. Like, so now I can't even eat the stuff that's been paid for.
Oh my gosh. Well, karma's coming, it sounds like. And I'm so sorry. Micki, can I ask you, can you share with the audience, what it was like for you in prison? And we had some personal discussions. So if you could share.
Yeah, you and I have talked quite a bit. Well, for one, it was a blessing to meet Jessica there. So, I was in isolation 2 separate times because I take the COVID test, because I knew too much truth about that, all of it. Kerry Mullis created the test, and he said it wasn't created to diagnose anything. And he called Fauci out for being a fraud. Okay. And so, and he ends up, you know, he ended up dying before they brought all this nonsense out. And I just knew a bunch of stuff about it. And I drive around, like I said, with stickers of truth all over my car. And so it became about, you know, it's easy to stand up for something when you have absolutely nothing to lose. But are you going to stand up for the things you believe in if you have everything to lose? And so, you know, when I got there, so, you know, the judge, he asked me if I had anything to say. And I said, well, if jail is what I get for fighting for we the people for the United States of America, then take me to jail. And
what were your official charges again for the audience?
Unlawful entry public, so basically a trespass. But for the charge to stand, it was, I refused to leave the property. Well, I left the property on my own accord. I was carried down the stairs, but they never escorted me off the property. I left the property on my own accord, and there's video proof of that. And
I'm glad they have that.
What happens with me is I didn't even know it was gonna work, to be honest with you. So, you know, he slams his gavel and he says, she obviously has no regrets and she would do it again, and all, no probation, 180 days. So I had my camouflage Make America Great Again hat and my
like mine.
Yeah. And I have my green Godwin shirt on. So I had a Godwin shirt on. And when I was to my sentencing at my trial, I took the stand. When I took the stand, I had my coat.
I love it. I love it.
Coat. And I took the stand with that on. Anyway, so what happens with me, right?
So you got 180 days? 180 days,
yeah,
was it?
I got the max sentence.
Okay.
I've never been in trouble in my life. Never been in trouble a day in my life. And so anyway, I go back to the back, right? And this nurse is coming at me with the COVID thing. And I said, no, you're not. I said, I'll press charges against you for assault and battery. I said, you're not touching me with that thing. And she said, well, that's fine. You'll be in your cell for your whole 180 days. And I said, well, I guess that's what God wants from me then. Because I ain't taking that stupid test. I knew they were putting the COVID on the test. They had nanoparticles. You had the Tanzanian president that tested a goat and a fruit and they came out positive.
I saw those videos. A lot of people were seeing them.
But did you know they ended up killing that president? They killed that president because he wouldn't bring the COVID shot into Tanzania. And then you had nurses that were suspicious, so they started sending blank tests. They were coming out positive. You had people that were going to the hospitals and they, you know, to take the test, but then they wouldn't take a test, and then they got calls saying they were positive. All of these things, I knew all of these things. Okay, so I refused to take the stupid test, and
so they were saying that you were going to stay by yourself for
in my
180
place
days.
for 180 days, which meant no shower. I'm gonna do something for you right now. I'm gonna show you something right now, and because it's important to our story.
Yeah,
a lot of it it's important to the story. And okay, so because I was in isolation, even though I had $2,500 on the books, I couldn't buy anything, including what I needed to clean my teeth. So years ago, I got in a horrific car accident. I fell asleep at the wheel and I lost my top teeth.
Oh,
okay.
Man, I'm sorry, girl.
It's important for me to tell you this. Okay.
Yep.
So they knew that and they gave me Fixodent. I was prescribed Fixodent. Okay. But I couldn't use a Fixodent because I couldn't get what I needed to clean my dentures. So I couldn't clean my teeth. Okay.
Oh, no.
yeah, I couldn't clean my teeth. So I was like, Lieutenant McCain Hines, I'm gonna make her famous, and it won't be in a good way. She was the worst. She was horrible, horrible, wretched woman. She said, well, it's not a medical item. So everybody else gets toothpaste to clean their teeth, right? But I can't get denture tablets to clean my teeth. So I can't use my Fix-A-Dent, okay? And so basically I had periodontal disease. The first time I went to a dentist, I was 18 years old when I went, and they, you know, so I had gum problems. So anyway, so when I went in there, you know, I have to floss my teeth. It's not an option for me. It's like, I have to do this, right? So at first I would grab like my threads, loose threads or whatever from my shoes, like the top of my shoes or my uniforms, right? I'd use those to floss my teeth. I had to use a sport to comb my hair. So I didn't have a comb. I had to use a sport to comb my hair. So for 21 days, the first time, I did not get to take a shower for 21 days. Was not allowed out of my cell, was not allowed to talk. I got 2 3-minute phone calls during that time. And then the medical director from the hospital comes up after 21 days, because the COVID, like if I went to jail and I had COVID, right? I would be released after 14 days. This was 21 days, right? And he said, well, would you be willing to take an x-ray to prove you don't have COVID? I was like, fine, right? So I took an x-ray mainly because I wanted to move with my friends, right? So it's like, fine. So I went and I took an x-ray to prove I didn't have COVID. But that shows you that that was his way after the first time, right? So I tried to do the reentry program. I was like, I'm not wearing no mask 5-6 hours a day. I'm not doing this nonsense. I said, and I'm not.
Oh, Jessica, did you want to say something?
Yeah, all of this that she's talking about, the jail is taking all these COVID precautions. And Joe Biden had already declared the pandemic was over. So this was all like just extreme. It was completely unnecessary anyway. Like people on the street were back to normal. But so they were forcing her to do all this stuff with the pandemic and stuff. And it was like, it was already over. Like, it's not even a point to it all.
That's a very good point too. So that this is more truth for people to hear that this was still going on in jail. That's horrific.
That's right. And so what happens is I go to a halfway house, right? Because I also wasn't going to do their 20 assignments trying to indoctrinate me about all this BS. So I go to the halfway house. I'm there only 1 week, right? And I go and they say, you have to take the COVID test because somebody was exposed to COVID. Now, I'm somebody that knows there was 32 million cases of the flu 1 year, and then COVID comes along and there's 1,832 cases of the flu. Okay, so I'm not stupid. And I know all of this. I know all of it, okay? So I'm not doing it. And he said, and so the assistant director at the halfway house says, well, you had to do it at the jail. And I said, no, I did not. He goes, yes, you did. And I said, no, I didn't. I refused. So anyway, so I got shackled. And I was going, when I was going back to the jail, I had a hoodie on that said, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. That's my hoodie I had on, and my camouflage jeans. The first time I didn't know what I was going to be giving up. I had no idea, right? But the second time I did, I knew I was leaving my Tom McDonald behind. I wasn't going to listen to my Tom McDonald, my favorite singer of all time. And I wasn't going to get to listen to no my music. I was, you know, wasn't going to be able to order anything again. I wouldn't be able to clean my teeth again. I wouldn't be able to shower again. You know, I knew all of that was, I wasn't going to be able to talk to anybody. And then Jessica, they kept our mail from us for over 30 days too during the holidays. So me and Jessica used to get mail. Yeah, so I'm in isolation, okay? So I'm already in isolation during the holidays. During my birthday, I'm in isolation. And Christmas I was in isolation, right? So all because I wouldn't take a COVID test. Now, remember, I told you the first time after 21 days, he had me take an x-ray to prove I didn't have COVID. Well, what happens the second time, I'm there, and Lieutenant Lancaster, which Jessica had really bad encounters with her. I didn't. I had really bad encounters with Lieutenant McCain Hines and Pryor. And my favorite, because I believe it's important to shout out that there were good people, like Jessica said, and mine was Miss. Like, I don't know how.
Well, could you repeat the name?
Miss Kenny. Miss Kenny, every single day she'd come on shift. Yeah, and she would look in my cell, she'd look in our cells and say, "Are you okay? You need anything?" Right? Every day, every single person. Now, she'd stick up for herself. People weren't being right to her, but there's nothing. She was a very fair person, and she was just, I don't know what I would have done without her. She was my saving grace when I was there, and other inmates, Amani and Honesty took good care of me too. And so those are things I'll always treasure. I get to say, I know that the justice system is corrupt because they have 40,000 laws on the books, and you're bound to get tripped up in one of them. But I'm gonna
that makes a lot of sense.
One more thing, because it's important.
Yeah.
So shortly after I got out of jail, because I couldn't clean my teeth, they kept telling me, and Jessica said she got them, but I kept trying to order like the denture to dental floss, right? And I never was able to get any. And again, they said, well, that's a medical item. Okay. So after I got out of jail, shortly after I got out of jail, I was having excruciating pain in my teeth. And I ended up losing my bottom teeth.
So because they didn't allow you to do that,
because I couldn't floss my teeth the whole time I was in jail.
Oh, Micki, I am so sorry.
Okay, so the one good thing about dentures is I get to have a pretty smile every single day as my teeth are white. But
I'm so sorry for something so simple.
And the thing is, right, that medical director, right? So I was in isolation the second time 30 days. The first time 21 days, second time 30 days, right? So Lieutenant Lancaster come up, she said, "What are you still doing in here?" She said, "Micki, the COVID is down to 10 days, the quarantine time, meaning if I went into jail and I had COVID, right? I would be out of isolation in 10 days.
Yep, makes sense.
But because I refused to take the stupid test, right? The second time they had me in isolation for 30 days, I did not leave my cell for a single second. Not one single second did I leave my cell for 30 damn days, okay? I did not talk to a single person, nobody on my family, nobody heard from me for 30 days, okay? Because I wouldn't take a damn COVID test because I knew the BS. Part of it was in honor of Carrie Mullis, who, you know, came out and is on video telling everybody this is BS. He said it before he died. They say he died of pneumonia. I think they killed him. But anyway, but that I think for me was probably the hardest thing. Oh, one more thing that they did to me. One more thing that they did.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in the rec area and I heard some commotion going on, and I walked out and there was this girl that was attacking this friend of mine. And, you know, I have bilateral neuropathy from my time in the military. And so I tried to yell, she wouldn't get off. I tried to pull her off, she wouldn't get off. So I was like, okay, what does work? What does work? My legs. So I wrapped my legs around her and I pulled her off. Well, I guess that's assault in jail because you're not allowed to touch somebody. But I was like,
because they weren't doing their job protecting her to begin with. So they needed you once again.
apparently they were assessing the situation is what it was. And so I wasn't supposed to do that, but I was helping the guards, not supposed to do that. So anyway, but the thing that I'm going to say about Lieutenant Lancaster, right? McCain, not Lancaster, I'm sorry, not Lieutenant Lancaster, but McCain Hines, right? So we were in status, which meant we were not allowed to be out in the general population and all this stuff. I couldn't go see Jessica because I couldn't go to the gym. Okay. So we're waiting for our disciplinary board. Well, the disciplinary board came down. They said, well, Micki, we're going to take your privileges away. You know, couldn't order anything or whatever, but we're going to let you go back into general population because we do not believe your intent was to fight in any way. And even the person that I supposedly assaulted said Micki wasn't, she was just trying to stop it. You know, Micki was just trying to stop
because no one else in, you know, the guards or anyone couldn't do it.
But McCain Hines was mad because the guards didn't pepper sprays. But this is what Lieutenant McCain Hines did, okay? She kept me and Alexis in that condition, not released into the general pop. Again, we didn't get our full rec time. We weren't allowed to be out with anybody else. I was shackled and taken to the dentist, but they never did anything. Just shackled and taken to the dentist. And they the whole thing is that McCain Hines kept me and her in that status for an extra week.
It sounds like she had it out for you.
After the disciplinary board released us, and she said, well, I didn't hear anything from the disciplinary board and I can't trust you inmates, but she's a lieutenant. You know, David is a lieutenant at the Taylor County Jail. Yes, I'm military, okay? I'm military. So excuse me, what status is Larson Olson and Hebron? Oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. But she took it upon herself to punish us further. So I did a complaint, right? Before I got out of jail, I did a complaint.
Good for you.
Guess who does the investigation for the complaint? Jessica, guess.
She does.
Yep. She did the investigation for a complaint against her. And she says,
does that even make sense, people? No.
She said, I already explained that to you, Larson Olson. I couldn't just take you at your word. And I said, and I don't have to accept your explanation. And then we were supposed to get out of the mass. So I didn't do like a complaint because we were supposed to be out March 3rd, right? So we actually did. For 2 days, we were walking around without masks on. And then we're told, no, y'all have to put them back on. And then the funny thing too was when I get to the jail, right? When I get to the jail and I'm in medical lock, I'm in jail and I'm in medical lock, and those idiots, the doors are wide open for 2 days because they're painting the doors. They're painting the doors. So I'm supposedly like really infectious, right? Like I'm gonna make the whole world sick, right? But the doors are wide open. The doors were wide open. But yet they kept me in isolation. And as the days were going by, I was like, you know what? Oh, the American people are going to be really mad when they find out the truth about all this, and when they find out what they've done to us Gen Sixers, and when they see, it's not easy for me to show everybody about my teeth, but I think it's important because they knew about my condition, they knew about my top teeth, but I couldn't even play my teeth because I didn't have this trouble.
Can I say something? So me just listening, being an everyday person, listening to what the charges were for simply trying to help and do the right thing. And you got how much jail time? And then you have you have rights to refusing those tests. And then you've got a lieutenant who's doing an investigation on herself.
Yep.
That sounds crooked to begin with. There's no.
Let me explain kind of where she was at. So there's different wings so you've got E2B, which Echo 2 Bravo is women's Gen Pop. Then you've got E2A, which is like the special privileges program unit. It's for people with lower charges, misdemeanors, low-level felonies. Then you've got E4B, which E4B is Supermax. That's like you live there. That's just like you don't come out of your cell. You get you're solitary confinement forever. Where Micki was E4A, which E4A, anytime you leave, it's the hole. So that's where you go if you're disciplinary. You're not supposed to just be there to live. If you're such a threat to the jail population, they're supposed to send you E4B. That's where they sent me after my sentencing, was E4B. The hole, that's just like punishment. Like, hey, you assaulted somebody, so you got to go to the hole for a while. So she was an E4A, and that's not even supposed to be like anytime you go anywhere, they handcuff you and then they like grab you by your arms and they escort you through the jail and stuff. So it's like a place that you're supposed to just live. And so they kept her there instead of moving her over to E4B or moving her down to Gen Pop with me, because that's where I spent a lot of my time, was in E2B. So that's where she's talking about now in the hole in E4A. So me and Pauline got thrown in there for the 4th of July. Lieutenant Lancaster, she just had it out for both of us. She hated the January 6th people. She was torturing the boys over on the inside, pepper spraying them and doing all sorts of stuff. For me and Pauline, she would just do random shakedowns and trash our cells. And but for the 4th of July, she's like, oh, somebody said you guys got a suicide pact. You're going to kill yourselves on the 4th of July. And we're looking at each other like, what? What are you talking about? And so she's like, pack your stuff, you're going to the hole. So they threw us in E4A, and Pauline had celiac disease. They kept feeding her food she couldn't eat. And so, Pauline Bauer. And so like she started wasting away, like physically. She looked like a concentration camp victim. I mean, I'm telling you, I could have wrapped my entire hand around her bicep. She was so
gosh, and they didn't do anything to accommodate different food or anything.
We didn't do anything. We didn't say anything about no suicide pact. It's like crazy Jonestown. So like, what are you talking about? We had plans to like throw like a party for the 4th of July.
Right.
And so she was wasting away. Her eyes were sunk in her head. Her hair was falling out in gobs. And she ended up her bottomed out. And so they took her to the hospital and they're like, holy cow, like this lady's having a problem. She was in ICU for a month. They just feeding her and intubating her and bringing her back up to normal weight, which for her height is probably
oh my God.
Pounds. She wasted away to like 90 pounds. She was she was like a little skeleton, and it was terrible. And so like the whole time she was in the hospital, they handcuffed her, one arm to the bed, the other arm over here to the bed, and one leg over here and one leg over there. So she was spread eagled, and they wouldn't they left her squirming in her own feces and urine. And she's like, get a nurse. I need somebody to change me out. And he's like, no, you can wait till the nurses do their rounds, and they just stand there with their hands on their guns and like look at her and just squirms in her own filth. It's incredible. And then as soon as they brought her back up to weight, I was still in the hole. I had been in the hole for like a month and a half by that point. They brought her back to the hole and they threw her back in there. And then they immediately fed her the same food, and she started wasting away again. Her judge,
oh my gosh,
had to send her home on ankle monitor because the jail was mistreating her so badly.
You know, can I say, ladies, thank you for sharing these stories that a lot of people don't understand. Because when I think about this, I think if my tax dollars, well, there's a lot of private ones too, but the point is these people are supposed to be treating people with some dignity. And for the charges that you were brought up on, that's like nothing. You could probably pull about 1,000 people off the street for doing things way worse, and they don't get stuck in the hole and all of that. When people hear your stories of how you were treated over the stupidest things, and I love that you're name dropping, because I want to encourage, and this isn't threatening because you know how our words can get twisted. I want to encourage people to do their research on these individuals that you have spoken of. What is their credibility? What is their family like? You know what I mean? Like,
well,
people hear these stories. My point is these people are supposed to be upholding the law, and clearly they weren't. Do you get what
I'm
I mean?
hoping I'm
Or
hoping
link
I
her
don't click out, you guys. I'm hoping I don't click out.
Okay,
and
okay.
if I do, I'll come back. But what it is right now for me, I really can't let this close out without giving our names of our remaining Jan 6ers that are still in jail. And I'm going to have to go to a different screen. Now, hopefully I won't cut you guys out. But I definitely, I mean, Jeremy Brown is off the top of my head. One, he is a Green Beret, retired Master Sergeant, Special Ops. And what it was for him is he refused. The FBI tried to get him to be like an informant, and he refused.
Whoa.
So they're retaliating. And what it is President Trump, the way he wrote the pardon was that anything that had anything to do with Jan 6, like what it is for some of them right now is war, like weapons. I guess one of them was at his girlfriend's house, and they broke into the house, and they broke into her gun was under lock, and they broke open her her safe to get the guns, and then charged them with gun crimes. So Daniel Ball, I know, is another one that's straight off the top of my head.
I want to encourage our viewers that are seeing this in the future to write these names down and start doing some research and digging deeper.
Yes.
Just wanted to say that.
Go into I think I'm still in, and like I said, I'm technologically stupid.
No, you're not. You're fine.
I do have
Jeremy Brown, Daniel Ball.
Jeremy Brown, Daniel Ball.
So are they still so are they still in jail?
Yes.
Okay, I just want the viewers to understand that there are some people still from January 6th and so forth in jail.
Yep.
Yeah. There were 6. So Dominic Box was released on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and he was actually able to come to CPAC. I got to meet him. But there were 6 that were still locked up after the president pardoned everyone. Now there's currently 5. Now I heard that Jeremy Brown was supposed to be released today, but as of yet, he's still in. Yeah.
Oh, but
they've worked it out. The prosecutors worked it out. There's a whole motion for his release that the prosecution has signed off on, and for whatever reason, he's still locked up. So
we got to do something. We got to do something. So we're going to get the word out about this.
Okay, somebody is roasting right now about.
What was that?
No, this was 23 hours ago. I'm on Twitter on We Are J6. Jeremy Brown is still being held as hostage.
That's a good resource for people to keep updated too. What's still happening behind the scenes.
We have wearej6.com.
Okay.
And we have We Are J6 out there on Twitter, on X.
Twitter. So these are good resources for the viewers to see and go and look and see what the updates are and what's happening. Perfect. So
I'm
quick.
still trying to find it. Be patient with me. I know they have it. I know they have it on here. I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be easier for me to find it on here. You know, I have all my, you know how it is to be. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I got
okay.
It. Okay. So we know, yes, Dominic Box was released, but Daniel Ball's still being held hostage. Jeremy Brown, Benjamin Martin, he's really struggling. He's also another veteran. They were really been bad to the veterans. Jessica and I, both veterans, okay? It's been really bad. Benjamin Martin's family reached out. Taylor Toronto and Edward Kelly, which you know Edward Kelly, and they're all still being held hostage.
I am so sorry. Thank you so much for these updates with I think it's just so important for our viewers. We must look after these people because what we are hearing, this is just common sense. What we're hearing is vicious, malicious, and there needs to be justice to be served. And we the people, and especially you need the truth. You need the public to understand your story. And it sounds like you all have your videos and stuff to back it up. So this is criminal. This is
exactly, and that's a lot of the reason why they won't release them. You know, from what I heard, Daniel Ball was beaten so horrifically that his teeth went out the side of his face. They don't want them out to be able to tell their stories and to be able to share and what they did, the way that, you know, the way they treated it, that they don't want, you know, and like I said, for the veterans, they've been really, really bad.
That's awful. Well, this is going to be great. We're going to get it out to our truther friends because I already mentioned to a few of them, Micki needs us and Jessica need us to get their story out so people can understand since you've been pardoned by President Trump. Now, my quick question, if I could switch the vibe just a little bit, what did it feel like to be pardoned by President Trump? To be acknowledged and pardoned?
I wasn't actually pardoned. I was one of 14 defendants who had my sentence commuted. The Oath Keeping Proud Boys did not receive pardons. We're still in the appeals process, but it was pretty surreal. I was actually in the hole when the call came down. I had an officer, well, lieutenant, when I was in prison, body slammed me into a fence. She grabbed me by my face and smashed my face into the chain link fence, and she threw me in the hole. I hadn't done anything to deserve it. It was no call for it. She just chased me down and body slammed me and did it.
And you're so tiny and petite too. I mean, I can't even imagine what that felt like.
Yeah, they're retaliating. They're retaliating against the Gen Sixers that are still in prison. They are retaliating. You know, we had one that was killed, and we still haven't gotten any video footage. They claim he was hostile during a they stopped him, and his name is Matthew Huddle.
Matthew Huddle, okay.
Huddle. I'm not sure if it's 2 T's or D's.
People can check on the JanuarySixers.com site for his name, yes? Do you know if his name is there?
On there, but he, so he was released, and they pulled him over, and they're claiming that he was, you know, fighting with the cops or whatever. But we have yet to see any proof of that. We had Dr. Tammy, which I met her the first time out at the Q rally in Sturgis in 2020, 4th of July weekend. And she was killed. They came over to serve her with some papers. Wasn't even the cops. It was paper process servers. Wasn't even the cops. And apparently they claimed that she had a gun and that she pointed a gun at them. Again, no body camera footage, no proof whatsoever.
Can I ask you a question when it comes to body cam footage? Are they, does that get turned on and off, or is it a legal thing that it's procedure that they must keep it running when they're interacting with people? Do you know what the answer is?
Well, every state's different. I think every state's different on that. But the thing was, these were not even cops. These were process servers, and they killed.
But that's what I'm saying. If people are interacting with people, do they have cameras? Do you know, Jessica? Have you heard anything?
Cameras. Really, it's just officers.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify because these are my questions in my head where, you know what I mean? It's just common sense where it's like, okay, well, did they have footage and so forth? I mean, I think that this is what it's all about, is using our own discernment and common sense on them being so malicious and so forth. So this is awful.
Yeah. So that's a concern. And but For me, it felt amazing to be pardoned by President Trump. I did get to meet President Trump in Manchester, New Hampshire.
My home state. Live free or die.
After it was released, and that's when he signed my backpack. And it was amazing because everybody's like, you just need to get up there. And I was like, I'm not going to push these people out of the way. Like somehow I have more of a right to meet the president than them. So I didn't do that. So
I love that about you.
Gary Foley from Gideon's army was like, sir, we got a J6 out here. We got a J6 out.
Oh, wow.
And it was the most amazing thing because I would have never done that. I would never have pushed my way through like that. No way. But when he said that, and President Trump said, where is she? Where is she? They all just parted ways and let me through. They all just was like, and then,
I
said,
can't imagine what that felt like for you.
And then the media went crazy because he hugged me. And some said he kissed me. He didn't. They had this sexualized because this costume, And, Trump.
I can't imagine how that felt though when you were finally out and being supported.
He gave me a big old hug, and he said, "You're a terrific woman." He said, "They put you through too much," like when I was in jail. And he said, you guys are going to be okay, meaning us Gen 6ers. And then he says, you're going to end up very happy. And so that was amazing experience. So after that, I end up on a phone call with NBC. And of course, they never say anything like I said. Well, what I told them, and they lied about it, they said that I said anybody that didn't agree with Trump in the election need to be hung. That's not what I said. What I said is anyone that stole a voice from our collective voice of we the people, of the people, for the people, by the people, is a terrorist. And if they are an American citizen, they are a traitor. And per the Constitution, all traitors must be executed. That's what I said. So I said,
thank you for clarifying it so people know for the record now.
They said, I said, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say anybody that didn't agree with Trump. I said anybody that stole a voice and anybody that certified that fraudulent election, still, you have,
I know people connect
the Brunson case, you have the Brunson case and all that. So I was still not ruling out things regarding that. And
so real quick, is there anything that you can share from President Trump that he says that you can share with the public? Any inside info that you can tell us? No, can't say anything.
No,
I'm just trying.
He follows me. He follows me on X.
Oh,
Trump follows me on X, but he's only liked one thing. I would be thrilled.
He's a busy man.
He's posted anything, but he does follow me on X. And
that's nice. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, we're a little over time, but I'd love to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes here. Can I ask you, ladies, Jessica, what would you both like to see for justice in what happened on January 6th? What happened to you, your fellow people that are still, locked up and all this horrific thing, these horrible things are happening. What would you like to see for justice, Jessica?
What I want to see is, I want to see prison reform. I want to see investigations into the actions of the January 6th Select Committee, the FBI, the pipe bomber situation, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police. I want to see indictments. A lot of these officers, they violated their oaths to the Constitution. They abused innocent people for no purpose. People like, you want me to name names? Here's a few more. You got Sergeant Daniel Thau, threw dozens of grenades into a peaceful crowd that did nothing wrong. You have James Chrisman. He also threw dozens of grenades into a crowd that was unsuspecting and treatment. You got Tara Tyndall. Tara Tyndall was walking around with a launcher, just blasting people in the face and in the throat with the thing. No threat, no target, just like in the crowd, random target, you're getting one. These officers and many, many more they need to be held responsible. I'm sorry. Like,
Yep.
I don't want bad brought on these officers. I don't want them being doxxed or swatted. I want you to go to jail. What you did, the American people cannot be allowed to continue. It needs to be, I don't want you to go to jail just because of what you did. I want you to go to jail because it sends a message to all those other cops who think that they could just like do whatever
I
they want.
agree.
It sends a message that
The
justice.
only other
It's not if you're a law enforcement officer, well, you're good to go. But if you're a civilian and you do that, well, then you're getting the cuffs thrown on and you're going to jail for a long time.
Exactly. Yep.
And the only other officer I ever had a problem with in jail was Pryor. One day I was in excruciating pain, and so I accidentally shut myself in my cell. And so the guards go by every half hour. So I was waiting, patiently for them to do the check, And so I asked her if she would let me out of my cell because I was on my rec time. She knew I was on my rec time, right?
Mhm.
And she goes, I'm not going to do that. And so then another guard comes by half an hour later, and she asked me, because she knows the only time I'm in my cell is when I have to be. Like if I'm in isolation, I ain't gonna be in my cell. And she asked me if well, I was in my cell, and I told her Pryor wouldn't let me out. So she was sick. She let me out. But then also Pryor denied me medical care because I said because what it was I didn't want to go out of my cell and go somewhere else and then get thrown in isolation again because I wouldn't take the COVID test. But I ended up being in a lot of pain. And so
I'm so sorry.
I said I needed to go to, the sick call. And she said I had to wait until the next day because there was no way for me to go. And then I found out that was BS. That was BS. Like there's a medical person there 24/7 to see people. And so anyway, but yeah, Pryor walks by my cell one day and she said Trump was the Antichrist. But I
Well, I'm glad you're saying her name on record and all these names, because now I think it's time for people to start digging deep. People that live in the area start doing their research on these people, their families, and so forth. But my question to you, Micki, is what would you like to see for justice for the January 6ers and what you've been through?
Can't get justice without the truth. The fact of the matter is my fellow Americans are always going to think we're traitors and insurrectionists, and they're always going to think we're the villains until the truth comes out. So first and foremost, I need the truth. We need the truth to come out.
Yep.
I want everybody that did wrong and broke the law to be punished accordingly. They need to be exposed. We need the country. We need an apology from our country and the media. I want the media punished. The media. We could not get fair trials because of the way the media was. There was no way we were going to get a fair trial.
I agree. Everything was shut down. Yep, it was all
bad we were, it was impossible. We're all in DC. They didn't let any of the cases go outside of DC. I had a defenseless attorney. People talk about, we talk about the judges. My judge, was no good, but it was my defenseless attorney. I want my defenseless attorney to lose his law license.
And can you repeat his name again so our viewers?
Daniel Dorsey.
Okay.
And he needs to lose his law license. The day before my testimony, he never talked to me about my defense. He was my attorney from January 20th, 2021 until my trial was over. And I was sentenced on September 30th of 22. Okay. And he was my attorney that whole time. Well, right when he became my attorney, I was trying to show him proof, that the election was stolen, right? And I told him to watch Dinesh D'Souza's 2,000 mules, right? And well, at the very beginning, he told me, he said, I do not believe the election was, oh, he said, let me quote this right. He said, I'm on the opposite side of the coin as you. I do not believe the election was stolen, and I'm not going to fight with you about it. So he never talked to me about my defense. I was my only defense witness. The day before my testimony, not even the trial, the day before my testimony, he talks to me and he says, you just need to go and tell them you just went there to cause a little mischief. And I said, I'm not going to do that because it's not true. And he says, well, that's the defense I have set for you.
Wow.
And I said, well, I'm not going to do that. And he promised me that I would be able to say whatever I wanted to say, but it was probably going to get me thrown in jail. I was like, I'm willing to go to jail for the truth. I am willing to go to jail for the truth.
Thank you so much for.
They kept cutting me off. I couldn't get any truth in. But he sits there and I said, well, did you bother to get the letter that President Trump authorized 10,000 National Guard troops? Get that? And he goes, you have no proof of that. And then I asked him if he watched the movie 2,000 Mules by Nesta Sosa. He said, he's a fraud. He's a fraud and it's fake news.
Well, you know what? It's up to people to decide. It's up for the people to decide.
Defenseless attorney, okay? So I want to know if they paid my defenseless attorney. I want to know if the deep state or the USAID, right? I want to know if his name is on a check from USAID.
Oh boy, that would be a
they had to get this. Me and my car, right? Me and my red Mazda Miata Grand Touring. Oh. Right?
Well,
I want to know if they paid these defenseless attorneys.
I think that's a very valid point, and maybe Elon Musk already knows. Well, listen. Yeah. I just want to thank you both for being such strong, amazing.
I was a little late.
No, you're totally fine. But you know what? If I can close it up here, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, and I'm so grateful to call you friends. And you're like, you know, it's people like us, we just automatically gravitate towards others that know the truth. And we would do anything for the other person. We're not going to throw each other under the bus. We look after each other. I mean, I look at so many people, and I don't want to label them or anything, but they're still sleeping. And they just throw their own family and friends and coworkers under the bus over the silliest, stupidest stuff. And I just want to say thank you for standing up for what is right. I want to thank you for just being great role models for our kids too, because I think about the children. I think about, you know, how many years has it been? You know, I'm thinking of an average 10-year-old kid. Half their lives, they're seeing their family and their friends fight and talk bad about each other. I mean, let's all grow up and start being decent human beings to one another. And let's start like fixing things. Let's start helping people that are suffering. You know, stop judging people and labeling people, because the labels were a program in itself. And if people haven't figured that out by now, they're not the brightest bulb. And I'm just going to say that for the record. But I want to ask you ladies one last thing. Can we do a quick recap of where people can find the both of you? If we can start with Jessica real quick, where people can find you, and also those websites again, where people can stay up to date on what's happening with January 6th, just to kind of wrap it up. Jessica, how?
So you can follow me on X. My name is just Jessica Watkins, except for instead of an E, that's a 6. So it's like J6, but it's Jessica Watkins. You'll see me, I'll pop right up there. And then the other website is http // the number 4 Ashley, as in Ashley Babbitt, so 4ashli.com /TALE tail. I tell my entire story there. The entire book is free online. You can read my entire story. I tell everything about January 6th, about everything he dealt with in jail. So it's 4ashli.com /tail. And so just check those out and you can reach me there.
Awesome. And they can also catch your Steve Bannon interviews from CPAC as well.
Yeah, I gotta watch that.
I love it. She did a great job. Now, Micki.
I saw the first one. I saw the first one, but I haven't. She sent me the second one. I haven't seen it yet. But
Got a strong, powerful voice. Now,
yes.
Micki, if you could, we got a cap it. It's my magic number, 420 right now. Real quick, where can people find you and that website once again, where people can be up to date for the January Sixers?
Sure. Yeah. What we're about is we are J6.com and we are J6 over on X. And also on YouTube, we are J6. And what we're about right now is truth and justice. And so basically us J6ers are getting our stories out through that, and we're seeking restorative justice. And all of us have our own, you know, what we feel that looks like for us. Most of us, I think, you know, the truth is imperative. Because if the people don't learn the truth, and we're never going to have, we have this one group now, and I don't remember the name of it, but they actually are targeting the Sixers. So
that's not good. That's not
I
good.
am over on X. My X, this is my 6th. You know, I had 5 Twitter accounts permanently disabled. And this is my 6th account over on X. And I haven't had too much trouble.
Good. And what are you, what's your name underneath on X?
I'm Q Patriot MLO1 on X.
Okay.
And I'm Q Patriot MLO on Truth Social. And JFK Jr. follows me there. He's the 17th letter. He follows me. He's been following me for a very long time. Followed me on Twitter, followed me on Gab, now follows me on Truth Social. And so I'm excited for all that to come down. And then I'm over on TikTok, but I get in so much trouble and they keep shutting down my accounts on TikTok.
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh. It's just, I'm in the same boat.
You can't say anything on TikTok.
Yeah. I am so sorry.
Invest a whole lot of time. I actually use it for a lot for research, but I am over there on as Q Patriot. Oh, awesome. I'm over there on Micki Lynn Larson Olson over on TikTok because they keep
that's where. Well, listen. Thank you. Thank you. You ladies rock. We are going to get the word out. We got a bunch of truth friends. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing. All right. I'll catch you ladies later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Love y'all. Love you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, darling.